Permanent Establishment Part 2. This is Simon of dongnam Accounting Corporation, a CPA in Seoul, Korea. I'm a member of Elliott Global Alliance, which is a network of international CPAs and lawyers around the world. Today's topic is deemed PE. This is the matter of dependent agent. It is generally accepted that an enterprise should be treated as having a PE in a state if there is, under certain conditions, a person acting for it, even though the enterprise may not have a fixed place of business in that state. This provision is to enable the state to tax in such cases. This is called deemed PE. This means when a company has a PE in other country, that other country can tax when meets a certain condition. To constitute a deemed PE, following conditions must be met. The first is a person acts in a contracting state on behalf of an enterprise. Number two is in doing so, that person habitually concludes contracts or habitually plays a principal role leading to the conclusion of contracts that are routinely concluded without material modification by the enterprise. And lastly, these contracts are either in the name of the enterprise or for the transfer of the ownership of or for the granting of the right to use property owned by that enterprise or that enterprise has the right to use for the provision of services by that enterprise. Korea tax law also prescribes about the deemed PE, which is where a foreign corporation which has no fixed place in Korea operates the business through any of the following persons. The location of the person's place of business shall be deemed the DPB, domestic place of business of the foreign corporation. The first one is a person who is authorized to conclude any of the following contracts and repeatedly exercise such authority in Korea. The three contracts are the number one, a contract concluded under the name of a foreign corporation. B is a contract to transfer ownership of asset owned by a foreign corporation to grant permission to use the assets that the foreign corporation has ownership or right to use. And C is a contract to give service of the foreign corporation. And the person is number two, a person who repeatedly plays an important role in the process of concluding a contract, although the person has not the right to conclude the contract under the name of the foreign corporation in Korea. This regulation has been added recently according to the OECD model. So a person, if that person has no right to conclude the contract himself, but he plays an important role in the process, then he also can be deemed PE. Regarding the deemed PE, OECD Model Tax Convention commentary has some important interpretation. Persons whose activities may create a PE are person, whether or not employees of the enterprise who act on behalf of the enterprise are not doing so in the course of carrying on a business as an independent agent. So if a person is considered as an independent agent, then there is no deemed PE. Such persons may be either individuals or company and need not be residents of nor have a place of business in that state in which they act for the enterprise. So the fact that a person is acting for the enterprise is important. Persons habitually concluding contracts that are in the name of the enterprise or are to be performed by the enterprise, or habitually playing the principal role leading to the conclusion of such contracts which are routinely concluded without material modification by the enterprise, can be a PE for the enterprise. Korea tax law adopted this rule and amended the tax law as we studied before. To be a PE, the conclusion of contracts by the person takes place habitually and repeatedly and not merely in isolated cases. This means that just one case does not constitute a PE. Independent agent. In case where activities are performed by independent agent on behalf of the enterprise, it will not constitute a PE. So independent agent is independent. So this does not make any deemed PE. Where an enterprise of a contracting state are carried on business dealings through an independent agent carrying on business as such cannot be taxed in any other contracting state in respect of those dealings if the independent agent is acting in the ordinary course of business. To be an independent agent, the activities should be independent. The independent status is less likely if the activities of an agent are performed exclusively or almost exclusively on behalf of one enterprise or closely related enterprises. In this case, that activity cannot be deemed as independent. This is dependent, so can constitute a PE. Whether a person acting as an agent is independent depends on the extent of the obligation which this person has vis-a-vis the enterprise. Independent agent, where the person's commercial activities for the enterprise are subject to detailed instruction or to comprehensive control by it, such a person cannot be regarded as independent. Another important criterion is whether entrepreneurial risk has to be borne by the person or by the enterprise the person represents. Usually a person is not considered independent when act exclusively or almost exclusively for one enterprise or enterprise closely related. However, the period also matters. When a person is acting exclusively for one enterprise to which it is not closely related for a short period of time, like at the beginning of that person's business operation, not the whole time, the person can be independent considering all other facts and circumstances. Subsidiary. A subsidiary acting exclusively or almost exclusively for its parent will be deemed to be a PE of the parent company. However, simply the parent-subsidiary relationship does not make a deemed PE. It is generally accepted that simply the existence of a subsidiary does not of itself constitute that subsidiary a PE of its parent company, because subsidiary constitutes an independent legal entity for the purpose of taxation. So even though a company has a subsidiary in one country, that is legally independent, so it is taxed as such. Even if business carried on by the subsidiary is managed by the parent, it will not automatically constitute the subsidiary of PE of the parent. A subsidiary which acts exclusively or almost exclusively for the parent only will be deemed a PE of the parent. So this is what is important is the word exclusively or almost exclusively is for a parent only. A subsidiary work only for its parent company exclusively, has a contract with the parent only, then it can be deemed PE. Taxation on PE, OECD model and Article 7 business profits. Profits of an enterprise of a contracting state shall be taxable only in that state unless enterprise carries on business in the other contracting state through a PE situated therein. If the enterprise carries on business as aforesaid, the profits that are attributable to the PE may be taxed in that other state. Almost similar meaning, the Korea-US tax treaty said, Article 8, business profits, industrial or commercial profits of a resident of one of the contracting states shall be exempt from tax by the other contracting state unless such resident is engaged in industrial or commercial activity in that other contracting state through a PE situated therein. So what is important is the existence of a PE. No PE, no business profits taxed. If such resident is so engaged, tax may be imposed by that other contracting state on the industrial or commercial profit of such resident, but only on so much of such profits that are attributable to the PE. Once a PE exists, then how much profit is attributable to that other contracting state is important. It decides the amount of taxable income. Thanks for being with us. For details, please do not hesitate to contact our email. Thank you very much.